Briar is both beautiful and has the right attitude to work. What do I mean by this? Well, that these 1-year-olds you've seen, you can say what you like. It doesn't matter how beautiful or ugly they are at this age, because if they've got the right attitude towards work, they'll go far. It's sport horses we're breeding. Someone said to me that you only talk about elite horses. It's strange no one thinks about spare time riders and riding school horses. These horses come with the deal. There are no risks here. If it was as simple as 9 out of 10 foals becoming world-class horses, horse breeding would be easy. Those riding school horses, which are pleasant and fine, perhaps a bit small, with a gait not quite good enough, but sound, we get those out of all of the mares, even by Briar, and even by other jumping stallions. There are no risks there. The goal we should have is to breed first-class horses. Now I'll start jogging with Briar. Remember, Briar is a little more advanced and the world's highest ranking dressage stallion today. But we're going to look for the similarities with Bigles. Whilst I'll warm him up, you can present him a little in more depth, please. I suspect that most of you know him quite well, but just to be fair, I can tell you that he's called Biosel's Briar. He is 172 centimetres high. He is by Magini Crocit Illum Gaspari Drabant. His mother's name is Chares. He was bred and is owned by Hans Yngve Jørensson from Trelleborg. He's competed in the Olympics in Sydney when he was only 9 years old. This horse and rider have won the Swedish Championships 3 years in a row. Already in 2001, he was the world's highest ranking dressage stallion. He was 6th in the World Championships in Holland. He competed very much last year. He came 3rd in Lingen, 2nd in Stuttgart, 3rd in Frankfurt and a double win at the Globe. This horse and rider won the individual European Championship silver medal, the first time in 50 years that a Swedish horse and rider have done so well and won such a medal. Briar has also 2 approved sons, both having received first place in the stallion tests. He also holds first place in Sweden with the highest total Blup index. I think we'll talk more about that when Jan has finished riding because it's a little complicated. He has very high points, but we'll talk about that later. We're watching Jan Brink and Briar, 2nd in the European Championships last year. At the moment, I'm warming him up, just like Bigles. I have a system when riding my horses. I forgot with Bigles because we have to shorten everything for the sake of time. I always finish just as I begin, that is, ride the horse for 10 minutes or so, easily, like this, without any stress, so that the horse can calm down and relax. Nothing here to impress anyone in forward riding. If you don't ride a horse like this in forward riding, it wouldn't be able to stay at the top for very many years. So it's very important that the horse begins in a relaxed way. You can see Briar has a tendency to take small, short, quick steps. Steps upwards. I'm just making slight nuances now whilst warming him up. I'm going to do things in the same way. I'm going to gallop him around and you'll see that I've got about the same form as with Bigles. But in time you'll see that these small parades become even more distinct on this horse because he's more advanced. You want them to shake their heads and think that it's fun here at the beginning and not feel any pressure at all. I'm sitting lightly in my seat during the warm-up. Bigless, of course, didn't make so many movements, but he finds it very easy to change the gallop, and he's very advanced in his training, just like his father is. You can see that when I take shorter steps, if you look at the hind legs, it goes through even more directly. You can see that I'm riding forwards here. Parade, so that he's almost standing on the spot and galloping after just a couple of steps. If you could imagine now that I was riding towards a jump, it's quite wonderful to have a horse you can regulate in this way. This is what I mean by register in the gaits. I'm not going to ride a lot of different movements with Briar, but show his wonderful way of moving. It's that what we want from a competition horse. I don't really see why it wouldn't be fun if a non-competition horse also moved like this. Even if the gait isn't as big, it must be really nice to have a horse which can alter its pace like this. In a while, you'll see that his neck will get successively higher and higher. That's what the training session is for. To ride into the form so that you don't have to pull him up. I'll now make some changes here so that he can get into the warm-up faster. Tempo is very important. It's very important to change the tempo. Ride slightly forwards here, sit back, and the horse reacts at once, and I don't have to pull very much with my hands. Forwards again a little. You can see that even a fully trained Grand Prix horse can make mistakes. It's also important to see that if they make a mistake, you don't stop and get angry with them. Why not? Because the next time the horse will be tense when it makes a mistake. And it will be even more tense the time after that. Short steps again. And of course, you can turn with these short steps if you want. And within a small space like I did just now. It's these small pirouettes that make the big money in a Grand Prix. What I'm showing now on Briar is a little too fast. You don't normally begin changing after a few minutes like this. But I just wanted to show how we use short steps, quick feet, and the communication between the front and rear. And the very fast communication. I'll now walk, and you'll see what happens with Briar when I take the reins. He finds it very easy to take short steps. I nearly always have 8th or 9th on collected walk. I'm very careful to allow Briar to relax directly after and relax his neck. This has to be trained a great deal. I have to warm up when I compete and include walking sessions with long reins with Briar. Otherwise he can get a little overexcited. I don't want the adrenaline up in his head until I make my entrance. It's me who decides that and not the horse. Of course it can happen, but most often it's perhaps me who peps him up a little too much. Do you remember what I did with Bigless? I tested the communication with short steps in the trotting work. I'll do this with Briar too and clap him. A light seat, no pressure. I can reduce his form a little like this. Try to get the neck extended more. He's learnt this, to take shorter steps. It certainly looks like Piaf now, and of course it is. But in the beginning it was like Bigless. There's not the slightest need to give him a kick to get any more from him. If I continue to clap him and just follow, he'll carry on taking short steps. He doesn't feel it's particularly hard work either. Sometimes you have to almost stop him. I often play with Briar like this. Short steps. Like Kira usually says, short steps when trotting, and Piaf is almost the same thing. And here you can carry on with this, and it's not hard work for him at all. So, short steps again. And you can see that I'm not forcing him at all. I can, of course, sit back down if I want to do the greatest group in Piaf and get him up even more. But I would only do this to get points in competitions. If I were to sit here and train like this every day, what would happen? He would find it extremely boring. Passage and even more steps upwards. And this, according to the seminars, is the world's best passage horse. There's so much upwards movement, so much ease, so much lift. It's also a matter of being able to passage in different ways. Small short steps in the passage, like the ones here. See how incredibly light I am in my seat, almost as if I'm jogging about whilst training here, so as not to force it. Then I can settle down and take larger steps in passage, like I'm doing now. And with quick footwork, see how quick it is. What incredible register this horse has. Small short steps again. If I then encourage him a little, if I do it just once, he'll only do it more. If I do it again and clap him directly, he knows no anger was intended, just that I wanted a little more from him. And then ride forwards a little. Slightly faster steps. He's now beginning to reach the level of adrenaline for competitions. You can see the difference now. Forwards, backwards, and directly up. Short steps upwards. Could you imagine a horse which isn't trained in this way or doesn't have this talent doing this? First stretching, and then a couple of seconds after going right up like this. Register in the gaits is really important. That and the horse's intellect are what we're looking for. The horse will grow and grow the more you get into the working session. More and more adrenaline. You can see the veins beginning to show now. Another 10 minutes of this and he would be ready to make an entrance. And believe me, he would really be flashy then. Well, that's it. And thank you.